Okay, so 1 through 9 we did in class together, so I made that as part A. This is part B, the 10 through 17, so 8 questions here that you were supposed to complete asynchronous for the review. So number 10 is asking or saying you and your friend Shelby are lost. You use your navigation devices to get to each other's coordinates, then draw a map of where you are. What is the distance between you two? So we're looking for the distance here. So if we're looking for distance, that's distance formula. So our distance formula is, let's make this a little bolder. Right, our distance formula is square root, right, of the change in x squared, right, plus the change in y squared, okay, which is also, right, x2 minus x1 squared, plus y2 minus y1 squared. So first thing we need to do is write our coordinates out. So Shelby is at the point 3, 6. Okay, and then you are at the point 8, 1. Okay, and we're just finding the distance between those 2 points. So the two x values are 3 and 8, so we're going to do 3 minus 8 squared plus, and then our two y values are 6 and 1, so 6 minus 1 squared. So that's going to be square root of negative 5 squared plus 5 squared. So that's going to be 25 plus 25, right? Square root of negative 5 times negative 5 is positive 25. And then 5 times 5 is 25. So our distance is going to be square root of 50, right, which is approximately, let's see, I took the calculator down. Square root of 50 is going to be like 7.1. Yep, 7.1, approximately 7.1. Okay, so there's your distance. Okay, the other way you could do this is you could have done this is draw a triangle. Right, so there's your right triangle. This distance here is going to be 5, right? 6 minus 1 is 5. Then here 8 minus 3 is 5. So then you could do the Pythagorean theorem. 5 squared plus 5 squared equals x squared. So that's 25 plus 25 equals x squared, which is 50. And then you take the square root of both sides. And so 7.1 is approximately equal to x. Okay, so there's distance formula. Okay, the next question is going to ask you to find the midpoint. So what they want to meet halfway between them. So what's that point? So we're looking for the midpoint. So our midpoint formula is, right, we take the average of the two x values, so x1 plus x2 over 2. Then you take the average of the two y values, so y1 plus y2 over 2. Okay, so your two x values, again, it's the same coordinates, so let's write them again. We have 3, 6, and 8, 1. Right, so our two x values are 3 and 8, so we're going to do 3 plus 8 divided by 2. And then for your y's, we're going to do 6 plus 1 divided by 2. Okay, so that's 11 over 2. This is 7 over 2. So if you want to write them as decimals, we could do 11 over 2 is 5.5, and then 7 over 2 is 3.5. So 5.5 and then 3.5. Be like right here, would be your midpoint. Okay. So pretty straightforward there. Average of the x's, average of the y's. Okay, number 12, we got to zoom in a little to read this one. Okay, in a pitched roof construction, carpenters can build the roof with rafters. one piece at a time. The rise, the run, and the rafter form a right angle. Right, so we have a right angle here. This is going to be 10. That's 4. Find the length of find the rafter length for the roof shown below. So it's a right triangle, and we're trying to find the third side. So that's Pythagorean theorem: a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Your legs are next to the right angle, adjacent to the right angle. So that's 4 squared plus 10 squared equals the hypotenuse squared. So that's 16 plus 100. So we got to take the square root of 116. This is round to the nearest tenth. So that's going to be 10.8. 10.8 feet. Okay. You have two sides of a right triangle. You're finding the third. That's Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus b squared is c squared. Leg squared plus leg squared is hypotenuse squared. All right. If a building site is rectangular, how long should each of the diagonals in the drawings be? So again, we're going to use the Pythagorean theorem here. All right, you have two sides of a right triangle, so we want to find the length of the diagonal. So this is going to be a squared plus b squared equals c squared. That's 80 squared plus 120 squared equals x squared. So 80 squared plus 120 squared is going to be 20,800. Then you got to take the square root of both sides. So square root of 20,800 is going to be 144.2 feet. This could be x. Okay, on this one, I believe that's a 190. And we're looking for the hypotenuse, so we're looking for the diagonal there. So again, 50 squared plus 190 squared equals x squared, right? It's a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Right, so 50 squared plus 190 squared. Right, it's going to be 38,600. Then we take the square root of both sides. That's 196.5, approximately 196.5, and again, that's going to be feet. Okay, so those are rectangles. You're finding the diagonal. You're using the Pythagorean theorem for those. 14, the pitch of a roof is the ratio of rise to the run. The geometry construction class is building a garage that is 25 feet wide. If the pitch of the roof is to be 1/3, find the rise of the roof. Okay, so the run is going to be half of 25, which is 12.5. Okay, we want our pitch, our rise over run, to equal 1 to 3. So 1/3 should equal rise over run. Right, our slope, right? So this is our slope. So slope is 1/3. So maybe we should write slope. Okay, so 1/3 equals rise is x, run is 12.5. Right, you can cross multiply, so 12.5 equals 3x. Divide by 3. 4.2 would be your height, feet. Okay, so slope is rise over run. They give us the slope, they give us the run, they want us to find the rise. So Slope is 1/3. Run is 12.5, right? Half of the whole base here. So 1/3 the slope equals rise x over run 12.5, and then you just solve. So you multiply 12.5 on both sides, and then divide by 3, or you can cross multiply. So 12.5 times 1 equals 3 times x, and then divide by 3. All right, 15, the I-70 west of Denver has a grade of 5%. That means the slope here is going to be, right, you got to move the decimal over 2 spots. So the slope is going to be 0.05 as a decimal. The horizontal length of the roadway, so that is your run, is 5.5 miles. What is the change in elevation? So you're looking for the rise. We'll make that x. Okay, and we want it in feet though. All right, so slope, right, or m is rise over run. So slope is going to be 0.05. That's going to equal our x over our run, which is 5.5 miles. So you multiply 5.5 on both sides. So that's going to be 5.5 times 0.05, which is 0.275. Right? We're going to multiply both sides by 5.5. Okay, and that's in miles. Okay, there are 5,280 feet in a mile, so 5,280 feet in a mile. So the miles will cancel out when we do 0.275 times 5,280. That's going to be 1,452 feet, 1,452 feet. So the rise here is going to be 1,452 feet. Okay. 16. So again, these last two are from the question bank. So we've already done these though. So when developers plan new housing complexes, they must seriously consider the drainage of water from the soil. One of the duties of the grading contractor is to assume proper sloping of the soil, which in turn contributes to adequate drainage. The diagram below shows the measurements taken by the surveyor hired by the grading contractor. The measurements have been placed on a coordinate grid to find the slope of the ground. So here's our horizontal line. Right, so that's going to be 63 here. The total height between the top of, where the surveyor is, who's 6 feet tall. Right, so this distance here is 6. So that means this distance here is 6. So we have to do 12.3 minus 6, which is 6.3. Right, that's going to be our rise. Our run is 63, so slope is rise over run. So our rise is 6.3, and our run is 63 feet. So we need to do 6.3 divided by 63, which is going to be 0.10, 10%, right? We don't even need to put that in the calculator. It's going to be 0.10 or 10%. Okay. And then the last question on here, some building codes require the slope of a stairway to be no steeper than 0.88 or 22/25 as a fraction. The stairs at Evan's house measures 11 inches deep and 6 inches high. Do the stairs meet the code requirements? Explain. So let's find the slope. So slope is rise over run. Right, so 6 over 11, right? So high is the inches and then deep is your run. Okay, so it doesn't look like it's going to meet requirements. 6 divided by 11 is 0.55, 0.55. Okay, so All right, so it wants no steeper than 0.88, which is a pretty steep for a stairway. Ours is less than though, right? 0.55 is less than 0.88. So yes, we meet code. Our slope is less than the required slope. Okay, and so those are the 8 questions that we didn't get to in class on the review. Again, I will be online Thursday morning if you have any questions from 8:15 to 11:15. So thanks, guys. Let's do well on the test.